on top of each other. Charlie Kirk gets assassinated a little over a week ago. The response to it is pretty grim. And then even after we have the whole weekend to sort of digest what we know about him, Jimmy Kimmel comes out and steps in it. And like many other people who are embarrassing themselves and losing their jobs over their ghoulish response to a political assassination from a guy who did nothing but talk, the response to that has been fantastic. So now we're on this next layer where, we have the freedom of speech, it's First Amendment. This is literally Hitler. He's being a fascist, being a dictator. It's like, hey, first off, we told you to stop with the fascist stuff. It's getting a shot. People on your side of the aisle are so easily duped and so violent that they can be spurred to continue shooting at us if y'all don't stop it. Number one, stop it. Number two, this isn't a First Amendment issue. Jimmy Kimmel didn't get handcuffs put on him. He's not being put in jail. You know, they had 12,000 people arrested last year in the UK for social media posts. That's a violation of freedom of speech. That is the government trying to regulate and control speech. But just as if Jimmy Kimmel had come out and just said the N-word 10 times in a row, he would lose his job and no one would be like, oh, it's a First Amendment issue. Oh, my goodness. It's a violation of his rights. No, you would say, well, he said something horrible that most of the country finds abhorrent. That's going to be terrible for business. It kind of makes sense for ABC/Disney to get rid of him. Well, same thing here. If you don't understand why Jimmy Kimmel is on indefinite suspension, I don't know if I can explain it to you. Right? A guy got assassinated, and he's not a bad guy. You may think, well, he said hateful things. Okay, well, you have a pretty sensitive version of what is sensitive, evil things, hateful things. What he said is just boilerplate conservatism. He's a pretty moderate Republican there. Doesn't believe anything extreme. Hell, I'm far more extreme than Charlie Kirk is. So this, if you don't understand, half of America is seeing a guy who shares their value be shot and have people go, kind of deserved it. He's probably one of yours. And when you're dismissive about Charlie Kirk being murdered, that means this is the ideology that's shared by half the country. You dismissive to the well-being of half the country? It's a pretty ghoulish stance. And if you don't understand it, perhaps you need to take some time off of work and do a little self-reflection. Kimmel? Because they're over here saying racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, literally Nazis. We're just saying, stop calling us Nazis. We're not Nazis. You have to listen to us and actually debate us based on the merits of your own opinions. Not try and scare disparate, uneducated third parties into not listening to me because they think I'm either a Klansman or a Nazi or something evil. Now that people are getting shot at, it's time to stop. So now the question has evolved into how many terror attacks does Antifa-affiliated people have to pull off before Antifa gets labeled a terror organization? So that's where we're starting with today. Donald Trump was asked about that yesterday.
But in the meantime, we're going to do a big thing with respect to Antifa. It's a sick group. I mean, very, very sick group. We have a lot of things. They love burning the American flag. I think it's terrible that they burn the American flag. We're going in and we're saying it incites riots, and therefore you go to jail for 1 year if you burn the American flag. That's different than Antifa, but Antifa burns a lot of American flags. Because as you know, the free speech got us on the American flag. The courts have ruled free speech. So we're going to go on an incitement of riots. I saw it the other day. I saw it the other day on your show. They have an American flag, and a guy starts burning it. And the people went crazy about it, and they ended up rioting all over the place. So we think that's a reason also. And we're going into the courts with that, which is incitement. Antifa causes tremendous incitement, and the things they say and the things they do are horrible. So we're going to find out.
So let's talk about this term, terror group, because these are very, very loaded terms. It's like the term insurrection that they were using, not by accident when they were talking about January 6th. But there's a little duality here, and I want you to walk on this fence with me here. On the one hand, the definition of terrorism is someone motivated by their political ideology commits an act of violence or intimidation, usually against a civilian target, in order to further a cause. Well, Antifa definitely meets that definition. The problem with that is we are currently in a war on terror. And we also have this designation for groups that are terrorists that opens them up to being what? Drone bombed? What are we going to drone bomb Antifa now? So we have a war on terror. You declare someone a terrorist organization, and now we're at what? War with Antifa? So what are we supposed to just take like an army division and mow down these nerds next time they show up blocking a street? I mean, some people might be okay with that. I'm not. And I don't think that's what we all mean by we're in a war on terror. We know war on terror was something that came into the lexicon and was written into law with all these other rules after 9/11 because we wanted to say we are fighting the war against Muslim terrorists. The people that are hijacking planes, the people that are blowing up buildings, the people that are sawing off heads and putting viral videos out there. But one side of the political aisle said, no, that's racist. If you're against this terror, why not all terror? It should just be a war against terror in general. What, are you for other kinds of terrorism? Are you only against this one because it's the color of their skin? You're racist. And so we wussed out and we accepted this term as if we were in some sort of mortal struggle with the Irish Republican Army, an obvious terror group, but that's not what we were talking about, right? And so now this term terrorism that we meant for this one specific group of people got written into law on a very vague definition. And now we have cartels that are terror groups. We're looking at making Antifa a terror group. So what, are we just going to start drone bombing all these people? 800-288-9227. Yes, by the definition of terrorism, Antifa is certainly a terrorist group, but they do not belong in the air quotes war on terror. We've got a little impasse here that we're going to have to work out. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. More audio on the Antifa terror situation next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Thank you very much for hanging out. We are your new home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins on WBAP. Look, they're a fun crew. They like to throw in, they do some of the same things I do, where they throw in little bits from comedians and viral videos and stuff. So it does that seesaw thing that I try and do, where we're really serious and then we're really having fun, and then we get really angry, and then we get really sad, and then we get really happy. And it's a good show. Check it out on 11 to 2, right before the old James Show here. But we're talking about the continuing fallout, and it's not just Kimmel. There's still a lot of people that you'll be learning about over the course of today's show that continue to get themselves fired. It's just Kimmel's the biggest name and sort of the avatar for the discussion right now. And that's starting to overlap also with the discussion of Antifa. How many people do they get to shoot before they're labeled a terrorist organization? How many dealerships can they firebomb? How many ICE facilities can they shoot up? How many people can they intimidate and commit acts of violence against for a political purpose before it meets the definition of terrorism? Because from my reading, it already meets the definition of terrorism. It's a scary proposition, though. And I don't like calling them a terrorist organization, because we've seen, since we've got a war on terror, all you've got to do is call someone a terrorist, and now you can drone bomb them. Now you can blow up their boats with no, like due process or whatever. It turns it into a military action. If we have a war on terror and you declare someone to be terror, so we're supposed to be at war with all these dorky college kids that put on black and go have hissy fits in the street. I don't like them. I disagree with them, but I don't want to start drone bombing them. That's not going to win anybody over. You're not the good guy if you start doing that. But we do have a problem with Antifa. Absolutely. So help me parse this. 800-288-9227. This is Greg in Burleson. You're on WBAP.
Hey, James. Couple things. I'll comment first on what I initially called about. The very first of your show, you said something, I think, that kind of jogged my memory, but it made me think about just the situation. So I see a lot of comments out in the public, social media of, Jimmy, Charlie Kirk said some things, and, when you say some things, I mean, gosh, some bad things can happen when you say stuff.
God, that's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So that reminds me of someone saying, well, that girl, she left the house in the miniskirt and she was just asking to get raped. That's just what happens. That's just how things are. It's kind of
victim blaming. Yes, we call that victim blaming.
Sure, absolutely. So that was my first point. But on to what I kind of want to disagree with you here a little bit about the Antifa thing. What is the difference in killing someone who is doing bad to the general public? So someone's robbing a bank, and so what if they were firebomb droned instead of gunned down by a police officer? What does it matter, the manner in which they die, as long as the bad guy is dying? Is my point. I'm all for.
So now you're talking about the level of statecraft where you delineate between what's a military action and what's sort of a criminal police action. So yeah, if someone robs a bank and there's a manhunt, we don't send the Army after them. We don't send the Navy SEALs after them. We send the cops or the SWAT. So the police is supposed to deal with the civilians. The military is supposed to deal with people who are sort of extrajudicial. And so when my cousin got sent to Iraq and had to jump out of the back of a Bradley and someone pointed a gun at him, he could just mow him down if he wanted to. We don't want that in America. We don't want old Dusty coming out of the back of a Bradley and just laying down without, the full recourse and due process and whatever cops do to sort of de-escalate. There's no de-escalation in the military. Well, you go kill, you go blow up, and it's not meant to be used on civilians. There's a reason why we don't have people in camouflage coming and doing raids or pulling you over. We have a clear separation. Cops deal with citizens and people who are under the jurisdiction of the United States. Military does people who we're at war with. I just see it as a huge escalation. I have no problem with going after Antifa as like a criminal organization, so the cops and the FBI kind of get in and take care of business. But if designating them a terrorist organization opens them up to military strikes, I think that's too far.
Fair enough. but you're offering your position as if it's a binary choice. Either we're going to go and prosecute Antifa with, police type tactics, or we're going to firebomb them.
Well,
I think there's a happy medium there.
I don't think there is a
You
happy
don't-
medium because when again, if it's happening by the military, they don't go do it in a way where, okay, we just had a shooting, now let's rope off the place and let's get all the evidence and everyone gets their due process and they get a day in court. And no,
Okay.
yeah, that's the scary part about the military. They don't have to worry about collecting evidence or proving whether they were right or wrong. They just kill you and move on. You're in a war zone. There are no rights. There is no due process. There is no courts. There is no murder or anything like that. And it's a huge escalation that I think is something we don't want in the end. I hope I explained myself well. I don't think I'm doing a good job.
No. I think you're doing fine.
Okay.
And I like this argument. I like this back and forth. But so let's say Antifa is committing federal crimes. Let's say they do what they did in Seattle and they surround a federal building and they light it on fire and they make an encampment for 10 days, which by the way they did, and they have committed federal crimes in that manner. Is that off limits for the cops? Do we now call in the National Guard for that?
Well, we have a mechanism for that. I mean, we have not special forces, SWAT teams that can go pick these guys up or break it up, or riot teams that can go. The deal. My solution is whoever does this, you go put them in jail for a really, really long time, and that'll stop real quick because a lot of these people, they're kind of cosplaying. They're kind of just sort of LARPing. Does everyone know what LARPing is?
Are they? Oh, I know what it is, but I would challenge that a little bit. I've read a lot about these guys. There are a lot of these people who claim to be Antifa that are ex-military, that have actual police training. So you're not just getting, little guy here who's got a college, he's a junior.
No. Look, I'm running out of time.
All right.
You're right. You're right. Some of them aren't LARPing. I think more than half of them are. And you put some of them in jail, all the LARPers go away, and you're only stuck with the real hardcore guys. The guy that shot Charlie Kirk, he's not LARPing. The 9 people that organized and attacked the Alvarado ICE facility just a couple months ago, they're not LARPing. But a lot of these kids are. It's just something cool to do on the weekends. You get the flyer on the quad from the pretty girl on campus, and you doing this, it makes you a good person. Sure, I'll be there, pretty girl. Yep. And so, yeah, all of that will go away. But I don't think we have to bring in the military. I think our civilian law enforcement mechanisms and institutions are enough.
As long as we get them, that's all I care about.
Oh, I agree on that. Great. That was a good chat. Greg and Burleson. Hey, give him 3 points over there. What do you, Garrett 3 in there today? Greg gets a field goal. We have some other good callers lined up. More great audio, including Jasmine Crockett, CNN, AOC. It's a great Friday show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. I do understand wanting to crack down on these crazy people that keep attacking, the guy that assassinated Charlie Kirk last week. Had Antifa messages scratched onto the bullets, so it's kind of hard to say he wasn't influenced by Antifa. Also in Discord groups that are Antifa related, and they hold Antifa events, and so on top of that, you had the Antifa members that attacked the ICE facility. You had Antifa whenever they riot, whenever they throw bricks at ICE cop cars in LA, when they go shoot up the place down in the ICE facility down in McAllen. That's a lot of violence. That's a lot of violence and or intimidation for a political ideology at civilian targets, which is the dictionary definition of terrorists. So there's no doubt they meet that definition of terrorist. But this whole idea, if you want to designate them a terrorist organization and we're in a war on terror, I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do. I'm not sure if that'll help. Right now it's quite obvious who's the good guys and who's the bad guys, but we just start drone bombing blue-haired spheres. That'll kind of muddy the water a little bit. So while, I appreciate the sentiment and agree something has to be done about Antifa, we can't go to for real war with them. And I'm not sure most people agree with me on that. A lot of y'all ready to just hit them with missiles anyway. This is Mikey in Weatherford. You're on WBAP.
Hey, James.
Hey, Mikey.
I told your screener about, I was going to see if everybody remembered about Biden and Pelosi calling all of us domestic terrorists just because if you didn't agree with them about January the 6th, or you didn't take the vax, but since we've gone the Antifa route, I think Antifa is like the brown shirts of 21st century. I don't think we have a Texas problem, but New York, California, Illinois, Northeast, they are some bad dudes. I think you're right about some get involved just for the excitement and go beat up old men and women by themselves and just be something to fear. But there are some hardcore people in this, and they need to be taken out surgically. I think you're 100% complete about the military. You can't do that, but we can take them out surgically. You get the people to call in, like FBI have numbers where you can call in, maybe Texas Rangers if it's Texas, certain places to surgically take these people out if they are truly thought to be part of this.
Well, why can't we treat them like the mob? The mob, they're a loosely connected network, and they're associated highly with crime/violent crime. And can't we just RICO these people out?
Well, they're going to need help. You can't do it by themselves. People are going to be scared to death to take these people on and be known.
Well, and then that's the killer part. How are we going to delineate the hardcore ones that need to be taken out from the misguided kids of some suburban nice family who just got the wrong message in college? Because I'm looking for some way we can figure out like the 45% of Democrats that would have put us in a concentration camp for not getting the vaccine 3 years ago. There's 59% of Democrat voters that would that wanted us confined into our home at all times until we got the vaccine. 29% of Democrat voters in 2022 were okay with removing parents' custody of their children if the parents refuse to get their kids vaccinated. How do we separate that from the less crazy Democrats? My friend Tracy or my friend Dana or Mark Cuban, they're like, how do we separate them out? I don't have the answer to that.
I'm thinking it's totally FBI. You got to go and just take these people out, and you got to do your research and go after these people just like the FBI has done before, just like every other organizations like KKK and where they took people out, in the South, what they were doing there. You're just going to have to do this surgically.
All right. Thank you, Mikey. One more real quick. Jeff in Frisco, you're on WBAP.
Hey, you have a great show, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I was going to say something, but this topic kind of changed on me from the other callers. I think basically what they're doing is just trying to open the doors to actually attack them through their financial providers. Okay. Not on the ground. You talk about surgically.
Oh, right, because that's part of the terrorist organization designation is
Yeah,
you
so
can like
they're
freeze
trying
them
to
out.
open that door to go after the Soroses of the world and things like that. Okay, not that I
Yeah.
agree with that either. Okay,
This all stinks
But-
because this is the same kind of thing that being used against Antifa now, but it was used against the Canadian truckers 3 years ago.
Yep.
Ah, this
I, agree.
stinks.
I totally agree. The reason why I actually called, though, was to go through that people just don't realize the Bill of Rights anymore. You know, we have maybe generations now that don't even know what it is, much less what it means and the impact. And that's one of the things that Charlie Kirk would always try to educate people on. And, you know, that's something that is just lacking. We have a state senator in John Cornyn, okay, that through a red flag law, highly unconstitutional, not just voted for it, but actually authored it.
I love it, Jeff. You're so right. I'm just out of time. Yeah, focusing on the Bill of Rights. More people understand that. That would solve a lot of our problems. Coming up next, Dr. Jeffrey Broder from Ragaku is going to break down a series of executive orders just signed by Trump that has to do with nuclear reactors and AI and military bases and infrastructure, and he'll break it down for you next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Yes, a grown man can like Kelly Clarkson. Thank you very much. But we are also your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins here on WBAP. It's an amusing show, enlightening show. You never know what they will say or do next. Check it out. Find out yourself. Monday, 11 to 2 on WBAP. My next guest is going to explain a slew of headlines that sound really vague but sound kind of important. Dr. Jeff Roger is back on from Rigaku. He's an expert in chemical, radiological, nuclear, biological, ontological. There's been a whole flurry of executive orders. And when I read the headline, it's like, well, he signed executive orders concerning AI and energy and power and data centers and nuclear. And this sounds like a job for you. What do I need to know out of this, Jeff? No. Okay, so when I hear nuclear, though, I don't know if this is more about nuclear power generation or nuclear armament, and I think you just kind of spelled it out there. Yeah. Cool. Well, that sounds fantastic. So are we going to see more nuclear coming online? Well, Well, all right, Mr. Mind Reader, because that's my next point. It's always sort of baffled me on if we can have nuclear powered subs and nuclear powered aircraft carriers, that means the power plant for these guys isn't huge. It's compacted down. So if we can have a compacted nuclear reactor that's also an energy source, why can't we just have one of these that's spread across, like one for Garland, one for Richardson, one for Plano, one for Frisco. We could all have like our own little separate power plants. There wouldn't be the electricity loss from the long lines of where they have to transmit it. It seems like it's a safer thing too, because you can't just hit one big power plant and screw up everything for everybody. It's decentralized. Why aren't we doing that already? Oh my goodness, yes. And if it went out, it was out for everybody. But that, when you have the long power lines, if one tree falls over and knocks it down, the power's out for everyone in that direction, And if we had a bunch of decentralized, I don't know, it seems like a no-brainer. I thought maybe you would have a good answer on why we're not doing it already. And I don't know, maybe we'll see it soon. You don't. No. Yeah, you know what? Strangely enough, I don't think I would know half of what I know about nuclear energy had I not been a talk show host for some reason. Strangely enough, Dr. Jeff Brodeur from Rigaku, thank you very much for your insight, sir. All right, I appreciate him explaining that to me, because that did sound like there's a whole lot going on. Coming up next, AOC speaks out today against the measure in the House remembering Charlie Kirk. You'll hear it next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. So let's review some of this Kimmel situation now. All right, because this is spurring a big debate from people who are all of a sudden constitutional fundamentalists, First Amendment. But if you may be one of the 5 people in America that is just being introduced to this story, this is what got him in trouble. At the beginning of this week, he said that Kirk shooter's MAGA.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger points.
Yeah, so then he goes on to say some jokes that they're not even that funny. They're just kind of mean. Okay, so let's go back in time here. Here's Jimmy Kimmel in 2023 in his monologue celebrating the firing of Tucker Carlson, canceling.
That's right. Fox News has severed bow ties with Tucker Carlson. After all these years, they are parting ways, which means he was fired. I mean, that's really what parting ways means. Tucker was said to be stunned by the move. It reportedly was in the middle of renegotiating his contract. Someone released a photograph of Tucker's face the moment he found out he was being fired.
Anyway, so that was him in 2023. Hey, celebrated. Hey, someone lost their job for having an opinion that some people found offensive. Isn't that great? Isn't that wonderful? In fact, what did AOC say in 2023 when Tucker Carlson got canceled? Was that a First Amendment problem?
Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. Deplatforming works, and it is important. And there you go. Good things can happen.
All right. So now what is AOC saying today? Because the House and the Senate both had a measure memorializing, honoring Charlie Kirk and condemning political violence. It passed the Senate. It did not pass the House. Isn't that wild? Let me repeat that. It did not pass the House. They couldn't even come together and say, yeah, political violence is bad. They just what? Can't give the other side a win? They can't admit the humanity of a guy who just got murdered in front of his family? All right. But what is she saying now? This was today. She's not a strong fan of honoring Charlie Kirk. Check this out.
His rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans, far from the working tirelessly to promote unity, unquote, asserted by the majority in this resolution. It is equally important that Congress does unite to reject the government's attempt to weaponize this moment into an all-out assault on free speech across the country, all in the name of Charlie Kirk.
Man, if I'd have known when I was playing that yesterday, that's what she was going to say today. You would think I'm God's favorite radio host. Look, remember, an all-out attack on free speech was
His
very
rhetoric,
important.
all-out assault on free speech across the country, all in the name of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, it's an all-out assault on free speech. Remember, Tucker Carlson loses his job, he gets canceled.
Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. Deplatforming works, and it is important. And there you go. Good things can happen.
All right, now there's a good argument to be made here that Jimmy Kimmel is one of the worst as far as the rhetoric goes, and just keeping hammering constantly with the negativity on right-wingers and Trumpists and anybody on Team Red. When you look at the Newsbusters, they did a study. And since January of 2023, 92% of Kimmel's jokes that are political have been about conservatives. Since September of 2022, out of all of his political guests, 97% of them have been liberal. And it's not just a bias in the joking world, and it's not just a bias in when they're scheduling guests. Newsbusters also made a pretty good montage of just really extreme statements that this stuff has to stop. Being called Nazis, being called neo-Nazis just for attending CPAC, this has to stop.
After much prayer and reflection, the president this morning decided to take the difficult step of condemning Nazis in the Klan, which was big for him because this is the sort of thing that could alienate his base. If you've ever wondered what is the polar opposite of MLK Day, it is the Iowa Republican Caucus. CPAC, if you don't know, is an annual event. It's like Comic-Con for neocons and neo-Nazis. This theory that the virus was accidentally released from a lab in Wuhan, that's his new angle to feed the wingnuts, to treat this virus like it was a conspiracy of some kind. Dr. Fauci said that if hospitals get any more overcrowded, they're going to have to make some very tough choices about who gets an ICU bed. That choice doesn't seem so tough to me. Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo? Rest in peace, Wheezy. Major League Baseball decided not to have the All-Star game in Atlanta this summer in response to the new law they passed in Georgia that tries to discourage people of color from voting. So baseball did the right thing and pulled the game, and now the Red Hatters are mad at them. We had the choice between a prosecutor and a criminal, and we chose the criminal to be president of the United States. More than half of this country voted for the criminal. People who've lived here their whole lives, people who've been in this city longer than I have, the vast majority of whom have never done anything wrong or being abducted, which is the correct word to use, by agents in masks, hiding their identities, grabbing people off the street. We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Yeah, so that's the montage from Newsbusters on Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, you think he deserved to keep his job after all that? And then what he said this week? You know who feels even worse about it? Who cares even less than you do about the plight of Jimmy Kimmel and his First Amendment concerns? Raven Harrison. You'll hear from her next. She's my next guest on The James Show. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. My next guest, if you think I'm hard on these people, she's coming in with a thunder, I can bet. Raven Harrison's on the James Show. Welcome back, Raven Harrison. How's it going? What, your birthday? Oh, I guess I'm not supposed to ask you how old you are.
150 million.
Are you that old? Whoa, you actually said it out loud. I thought you're not supposed to say that. Isn't that like a woman rule you just broke? And you should have kept your mouth shut. I thought you were younger than me. That being said, what's your take? They had the Charlie Kirk resolution today, honoring him. What was it, like 38 Democrats voted against it. Your take on it. Before I even chum the water, your take on it. Right. But Raven, they're saying like Benny Thompson voted against it. He's a Democrat from Mississippi. It starts out, he gives the statement on why he voted against it. He says, I condemn unequivocally in the strongest term the violent murder of Charlie Kirk and pray for his family, yada, yada, yada. And then he explains why he voted for it. Charlie Kirk's rhetoric was divisive, disparaging, and too often rooted in grievance. The beliefs he evangelized normalized fringe views on race, sex, and immigration, and unfortunately his rhetoric resurrected dangerous prejudices of a dark past. So yeah, they don't have to honor your death if they feel like your rhetoric was something they disagreed with. All right, we're talking with Raven Harrison. RavenHarrison.com is her website. This is Jimmy Kimmel running his mouth and getting himself fired earlier.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from.
All right, Raven, do you think that was worth his career? Yeah, he made more money than me, I'll tell you that. The guy, what was he pulling in, like $8 million a year or something crazy? That's the everyday That's the everyday pushback against the WNBA. It's losing money, not because we're all sexist in America. It's because you're not watching it. Stop it. Well, Raven, I've got my next clip will make you feel a little bit better. I'm the kind of jerk that will go back a couple years and go find the Jimmy Kimmel monologue from the day Tucker Carlson got canceled from Fox News for saying things that were coloring outside of the line. And we'll see what a free speech absolutist he was back then.
That's right. Fox News has severed bow ties with Tucker Carlson. After all these years, they are parting ways, which means he was fired. I mean, that's really what parting ways means.
Yay! Isn't that great? You got fired. Yeah, they're not worried about First Amendment or cancel culture, blah, blah, blah. Literally fascist. Now, it was celebrated 2 years ago. We remember that, don't we, Raven? Right? Bruce just passed me a note here. Jimmy Kimmel's salary was $15 million, and that's what he just lost. All right, Raven, I got to run. That's going to do it for our time. But if you want to hang out, I'll play you along with everyone else. The reaction from Jimmy Fallon last night to Jimmy Kimmel being let go. Thank you very much. How do they find your work online, Raven? All right, Jimmy Fallon's response to Jimmy Kimmel being fired next on The James Show, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Now's your chance to win a part of $5K a day on WBAP. Your chance at $1,000 right now. Pay off some bills. Just text NOTE to 95819. That's NOTE, NOTE, to 95819, and you could score $1,000. Sponsored locally by Mullen & Mullen Injury Law Firm. Good luck. Well, hey there. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, with Colbert on the way out and Jimmy Kimmel indefinitely suspended, looks like he might be on the way out. I bet you Seth Meyer and Jimmy Fallon are wrapping themselves in bubble wrap these days, aren't they? That's got to be a nervous position to be in. But Jimmy Fallon took it in stride yesterday. He made he started off making a couple of jokes and then went into this bit where he pretended like he was getting censored by the Trump administration. Now, this actually works because he's not making fun of Trump. He's making fun of himself. And he's showing how the people on his staff are so scared after Kimmel getting fired that they're overcorrecting in order to not run afoul of, literally Hitler or whatever. But this is so much better than what Kimmel's been throwing out. Jimmy Fallon is actually engaging in comedy. The only thing Kimmel said that was anything remotely comedy, not just, hey, the people I disagree with are terrible people, fascist, stupid idiots. It's when he said Fox News is cutting bow ties with Tucker Carlson. See, there's actually a joke in there. There's a wordplay. There's comedy in there, not just you stupid. And so Jimmy Fallon, number one, not trying to make Trump look as bad as possible. Being vulnerable and self-deprecating actually scores real comedy in his reaction to Kimmel getting quasi-fired.
Yeah, a lot of people are worried that we won't keep saying what we want to say or that we'll be censored. But I'm going to cover the president's trip to the UK just like I normally would. Here we go. Well, guys, President Trump just wrapped up his 3-day trip to the UK, and he
looked incredibly handsome.
As always, his tie was
exactly the right length.
And his face looked
like a color that exists in nature.
And his hair looked
better than Conrad's from the summer I turned pretty.
During the trip, protesters managed to project images onto the sides of Windsor Castle of Trump standing next to his good friend, Jeff
Goldblum.
Even though his administration still insists that he's not in the
Goldblum
file, which we all know is absolute bull.
True.
Anyway, to sum it up, President Trump is
making America great again by restoring our national reputation, reinvigorating our economy, and rebuilding our military. I hereby nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize.
And you can quote me on that.
See the joke? He was talking all tough, but when it comes down to it, they wussed out and overly corrected by censoring themselves. That's actual comedy. Well done. Love it. Another reaction here. Michael Knowles online. He's another guy that is sort of like Charlie Kirk in the fact that he'll go into colleges and into the Lion's Den and openly debate people. His explanation on Kimmel's firing is nice and succinct. Beautiful.
I've heard this from so many people. They say, Michael, something that scandalizes me most about Charlie's assassination is that I logged onto Facebook and people I grew up with, people I used to work with, are happy about it. Multiple people have said this to me. I bet it's true of you too. Charlie being so mainstream, being relatively moderate, being so genteel, being so polite, being so nice. If they would celebrate his murder, they'd celebrate my murder. If they would justify his murder, they'd justify my murder. I thought these people were my friends. I thought they were my family. I thought I grew up with them. You cannot have a society like that. And we need some standards back in our society. And we need some rules around the marketplace. All marketplaces need rules. In order for a marketplace to flourish, you have to feel that your life is not imperiled by walking into one. That's what is called for right now. That is the necessary step that most people, I think, are missing. to arrive at the ideal that they like of a society in which people can have a healthy exchange of ideas.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that. Coming up next, the new iPhone 17 is about to come out. What's new about it, and is it worth you buying? Find out next from Jeff Navarez from Tech Experts on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. We are your new home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Listen like I do. Enjoy the laughs right before you hear the James Show, 11 to 2 weekdays on WBAP. My next guest is going to let you know if you need to go ahead and spend the money on the new iPhone or not. The iPhone 17 is out. Jeff Neverez from Tech Experts. Welcome to the James Show. How much does it cost? And is it worth it, sir? I heard a news report earlier today. By the way, this is Jeff Neverez from Tech Experts, that the iPhone 17 has the ability to take advantage fully of new AI features. What are they talking about there? All right. Well, a lot of good stuff there. Jeff Navarez, how do we find your work online? And and you spell it funny, TECHX, the letter X, PERTS.guru. Not a whole lot of gurus out there. All right, cool. Coming up next, you're going to hear the story of a professor at Texas State University who got fired. And it's not for Charlie Kirk comments, it's for something he said the day before. But it's pretty bad. You'll hear the audio coming up next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Happy Friday. Your weekend starts in 55 minutes. Well, a Texas State professor's weekend already started and may be indefinite, just like Jimmy Kimmel's, because of things that he said online. Now, this one is actually surprising because it's not about Charlie Kirk, but it fits in perfectly with the larger discussion that we're having. Because let's not make this First Amendment discussion and this whole cancel culture debate that we're having right now, let's not isolate this to Charlie Kirk. Let's just go ahead and keep this in the context of if it was okay for Tucker Carlson to lose his job for saying things you found offensive. Y'all tried to get Rush Limbaugh fired for saying things you found offensive. You weren't concerned about First Amendment rights there. I have people who are emailing and calling in on an almost daily basis trying to get me fired. That's fine. You're not going to get any sympathy from me here. But in this one, we're going to go to the Austin affiliate, the ABC affiliate, KVUE. And they're going to tell you about this guy in San Marcos at Texas State who got himself fired. Now, I'm going to play you some of the audio after you hear how they describe it. And they kind of describe it with kid gloves. Well, he said some things that are not popular, or some people critics may deem offensive or whatever. And then I'll play you what he actually said, because he went into like a Zoom meeting the day before Charlie Kirk got shot with like the socialist radical revolutionaries of America. It was a whole smorgasbord of people from different organizations, and he was chastising some of them, like the Democrat Socialists of America, for being too moderate. It's like, goodness, son, how Marxist are you? Well, he goes all the way down the Marxist hole. You'll hear it first after
Alter, who had taught at Texas State since 2017.
I spoke over it. When he says Alter, the professor's name is Tom Alter.
Alter, who had taught at Texas State since 2017 and had tenure as an associate history professor, was fired last week after he made comments at a virtual socialism conference.
In my own office, at home, speaking in my own capacity as a private citizen.
During that event, while explaining how socialists can organize an effective party, he questioned if anarchist protests can achieve their goals, saying without organization, how can anyone expect to overthrow the U.S. government? Alter says he was not inciting violence, and the comments were taken out of context.
I'm for building an independent working class political party that advocates for the needs of working class people. That's what I was calling for organizing.
According to Alter, Texas State administrators said they were firing him because his conduct jeopardized the health and safety of the university community and reflected inappropriate and poor judgment as a faculty member.
All right, they go on and they talk about this for a couple more minutes, but they don't delve in any more into his motivation or what he actually said. So I had clicked through a few links. I went and found the Zoom meeting. And here's what he said. First, before he gets to the truly offensive stuff, just listen to how communists talk. They call each other comrade, and they always talk about the workers and the rights and the unions and the class structure, and they use the word liberal to mean non-communist instead of people on the left. And they have their own verbiage here that kind of keeps them, I don't know, I feel like they dig in their belly button all the time with this stuff. But I got 3 good clips you're going to love, or probably hate. Here's the first one.
We must educate ourselves and others in Marxism and the history of class struggle.
Jesus.
We are by no means just a reading club. Our tasks are laid out in the Communist Manifesto. We must participate in the struggles of our class, whatever they may be, from joining union picket lines to defending trans people. And then, as communists, connect these numerous struggles of our class into a fight against the source of our oppression, capitalism.
Look, right there. That should be a disqualifier for anybody who's teaching anything in any college, period, point blank, end of story. You're citing the Communist Manifesto as a resource. You're openly saying you're Marxist. And I'm not, trying to get him thrown off campus just because I politically disagree with him. There's a lot of people I disagree with that I think would be fine professors. But communism is not only the flat earth of economics, literally the worst ideology ever imagined in the human experiment. And what are you measuring that by, James? Well, when I say the worst, communism killed more people in the 20th century than all religious wars combined throughout all of human history. Communists killed over 100 million of their own citizens. And I'm not even counting the wars where they go start a war with the people next and kill a bunch of... I'm talking about murdering your own citizens. Communists are responsible for all the greatest atrocities in America, in world history as well. Nothing comes close to it. Not even Nazism. Look, Nazism got a lot of people killed. Not as many people as Mao got killed, and that's just one dude in one country. Nazism is terrible. It is among the deadliest, worst ideologies ever foisted upon a poor human civilization. It's terrible. It's unacceptable. It is rightfully ostracized from public discourse. Communism should be too. You wouldn't let a guy who's a Nazi be a professor at Texas State University, would you? Why do we allow communists? You wouldn't let a Nazi be a professor at Brookhaven Community College over here in Farmers Branch. We shouldn't let a communist either. Communist Manifesto. Dude citing the Communist Manifesto. You realize the people citing the Communist Manifesto are the worst killers in human history? Let's see who else. Who else cited the Communist Manifesto? Let's see. There was Stalin and Lenin and Fidel Castro and Pol Pot and Mao Zedong and the Kim Jong-un's ills and sons, the North Koreans. Pretty much every murderous regime that took human rights backwards, that took, even if it showed up in a developed society, it would take that society backwards. Even if you took a country that was functioning, you added in communism, you put in a 5-year plan. And I say 5-year plan because Fidel Castro did 5-year plans. Hugo Chavez did 5-year plans. Mao Zedong did 5-year plans. Joseph Stalin did 5-year plans. And what happens? At some point, you end up having to break into the zoo to eat all the animals. In Ukraine, there's the Holodomor with millions of people starving because they came in and they took the grain that the Ukrainians were making and they sent it elsewhere. Here's where it gets worse. This guy teaches teachers. I
remember somebody saying, I remember like that getting circular on that it like trains like the most public sector teachers in the country.
That it definitely is for Texas because that's what it was It was started as a teacher school. Actually, that's what Lyndon Johnson went here. It's a teacher school. I can't wait till the day when we tear down the Lyndon Johnson statue on campus as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, cancel culture's hilarious. Rewriting
Texas
history,
State's
hilarious.
grown. It's now like the 19th largest school campus in the country, so that would kind of make sense that it could be in training for teachers in the country. So I haven't actually heard that, and they usually do kind of trumpet those statistics when it is.
This guy teaches teachers. This guy teaches teachers. Here's what got him in trouble. Talking about overthrowing the government. And by the way, literal insurrection, not January 6th, where you had some gravy seals loitering through Statuary Hall for an hour and a half. He's calling for literal insurrection, literal overthrow. And when he says overthrow, he doesn't mean win the next election. He means pick up arms and shoot people who try and stop you. Thank you very much.
Say it again. My name is Tom Alter. I'm a member of Socialist Horizon in San Marcos, Texas, and also a member of the Texas State Employees Union, affiliated with the CWA. As anarchists, these insurrectionists explicitly reject the formation of a revolutionary party capable of leading the working class to power. Without organization, how can anyone expect to overthrow the most bloodthirsty, profit-driven, mad organization in the history of the world, that of the U.S. government?
2 minutes, comrade.
2 minutes, comrade. This guy, until this week, was teaching kids, was teaching teachers at the school that cranks out the most public school teachers in all of Texas. You think college professors are bad? It's probably worse than you think. You wonder what's wrong with, public schools and why only 28% of high school kids can read at their level. This is their teacher. This is the system that produces teachers. You tell me we don't need school choice. You tell me we have to have public schools. Good Lord, how bad does it have to get before you start questioning that model? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. We'll continue debating the Texas State professor that lost his job for being a little too communist next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Welcome back to the big show. Hey, just so you know, we have our game show coming up in the next segment called Name That Artist. And our prize this week is 2 tickets to see Megyn Kelly. She's going to be at Dickies Arena October 25th. And if you want to go ahead and get in line for that, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. So you're going to get on hold. I'll play the montage. You're going to get out a piece of paper and a pen and either write it down or get out a notepad file on your phone and type it in real quick like I do. So if you want to go ahead and call in, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. And when I say Megyn Kelly, I'm kind of underselling it here. She's the headliner, but she's going to have a few guests with her, including Glenn Beck, Mark Halperin, Link Lauren. Get tickets at MegynKelly.com or call in right now and you can win some in the next segment because we're going to play Name That Artist. And the artist today, I think these are all from the 70s. So there's your category, 800-288-9227. All right, we've been trying to not just play the reaction to Charlie Kirk getting assassinated, then the reaction to the reaction, and then the reaction to Jimmy Kimmel's reaction and everyone else's reaction. Not just to throw it out there and see what's going on, but actually try and learn from this. Like, where are the new lines? Are we comfortable with this? Because there's a whole lot of gotcha moments in here, and I enjoy that, and they count too. But I want to do something a little deeper than that, because like I see a lot of this. Tim Walz was talking about how we've got to bring decency back. We've got to tone down the rhetoric, and then all you got to do is put that next to a soundbite we have from him 2 weeks ago, where he was making light about the rumor over the weekend at the time that Trump had passed away.
So we're talking about this political violence thing. We have got to get back to the decency. You get up in the morning and you doom scroll through things, and although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will be news.
Now, we have a whole lot of people who are so concerned right now about fascism. It got a mention today on The View. It's got mentions on CNN and MSNBC, basically ad nauseum. Scott Jennings was trying to deal with these people, and I played it on yesterday's show. They're still concerned about fascism. They're super concerned about the government leaning on a private corporation, a media platform, to censor their content. You know who would do that? Fascists, literally Hitler. Okay, so let's go back into the Wayback Machine. Let's go all the way back. Just 2 years. Mark Zuckerberg, founder, CEO of Facebook, was telling Joe Rogan that the FBI, Joe Biden's FBI, was constantly censoring Facebook for COVID information, a lot of which turned out to be true.
They pushed us super hard to take down things that were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, you know, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down things that
it was
talk about vaccine side effects?
It was people in the Biden administration. I think these people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse, and it's like,
yeah. So there it is. There is an administration calling up platforms, demanding they take down and trying to control the information flow on a private platform. None of y'all were bothered by that. If anyone is complaining about Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel losing their jobs because the Trump administration supposedly leaned on the networks, which we don't even know if it's true, but even if it is, if you didn't say nothing back then, it means nothing to me now. I don't hear any of y'all complaining or losing your mind about fascism. Biden wasn't literally Hitler when he had the FBI leaning on Facebook to censor true information on COVID. Information and a hysteria that cost millions of people their jobs. that tanked the economy, that crushed the stock market, that flushed 2 years of young children's schooling down the toilet, that flush your rights down the toilet, your freedom of assembly, your freedom of a religion, your freedom of movement, your freedom of speech, flush down the toilet. There are actual real negative consequences to when Biden was leaning on media platforms. What's a negative consequence to losing Jimmy Kimmel? Exactly. 800-288-9227. All right, we're going to play Name That Artist next for Megyn Kelly tickets. All you got to do is call in. There's still two lines open, 800-288-9227. And tell me, guys, if you're already on hold, get out something to write with or a notepad file on your phone. Can you name the artist to these 10 songs? All right. Da-na-na-na-na. There's your montage. You don't have to know all of them. You just have to know more than the next guy. Name that artist. I'll play the montage again, get a winner, and give you the answers coming up next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, sports fans, guess what? It's football. Yep, football's back. Did you get to take advantage of the game last night? Bills versus the Dolphins. Well, here, let me tell you what I did this week because I wanted to play again for tomorrow, and there's no NFL games tomorrow. I mean, pro games tomorrow. So I went for the college ranks, and I made a lineup for college. Number one, I started with Arch Manning because I think they're playing like what are they playing? Tarrant County Community College or something this weekend. Anyway, it looked like a pretty easy game. 259.5 passing yards. I picked more on that one. The other one, I'm looking at the Skillet Bowl, TCU versus SMU. I looked at the TCU quarterback, Josh Hoover. His statistic is 1.5 passing yards. Now, I picked more on that. If he passes for 2 or more touchdowns, I win that one. If he passes for 1 or 0, I don't get that one. But that's all it is. I made a lineup of 2 people. You can do it up to 6 people, win up to 2,000 times your money on America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. And that's it. That's all the work I have to do. I can do it again on Sunday. I can do another lineup on Monday. So check it out. Download the Prize Picks app. Add a little bit of fun to the football you're already watching. And if you use promo code WBAP, you get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. So download Prize Picks, use promo code WBAP, and you get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Well, hey there. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. You're just in time for the James Show, game show, Name That Artist. Today, we're playing for Megyn Kelly tickets. Now, she's the headliner. She's going to be at Dickies Arena October 25th, but she has a few guests coming with her. You've heard of Glenn Beck. You've probably heard of Mark Halperin. Link Lauren also going to be there. You can get tickets at megynkelly.com if you don't want to play Name That Artist. But if you want to play right now, 800-288-9227. For all you nice people on hold, just hang on. I'm going to play the montage, write all these down. And when I come to you, you rattle off the ones you know. If you know more than everyone else, the tickets will be yours. But first, can you name these 10 artists? All right, there we go. This is your montage for today's Name That Artist. To the phones we go. Jeff, you're first up on Name That Artist. You ready, sir?
Oh, James, I'm not feeling confident about that. I know the songs. I'm 62, and I know there's a bunch of good 70s songs in there. I'll say the first one, is it Dolly Parton?
No.
No. And then the one about car wash, I know that's Rolls Royce. Yes.
Is that where we're at?
No, there was another one in between that.
Bro, I got the Rolls Royce one because Bruce made this montage. I got the Rolls Royce one. I got two other out of the whole list. So
Yeah.
I did terrible too. But guess what, Jeff? Even if that's all you know right now, you're in first place. All right. So sit.
I got more.
Oh, you got more? Well, keep it going. Ready, go.
Yeah. So in order, but the one where he says, "I'm not in love," that's Ambrosia.
I'm not in love. I don't think that's Ambrosia.
Well, then it's okay. Darn it. And then the last one, Paul McCartney and Styx.
Paul McCartney and Wings, but all right.
Wings. Okay, not Styx, Wings.
So what do you?
Man, that's all I got.
Hang on.
All I got, and I didn't look any of these up. So
that's fine. You're still in first place. Don't hang up. See what else we got here. Who was second? Mark was second. Mark in Arlington. You're on Name That Artist. What you got?
The only other one I have is Elton John.
Hang on. David in Fort Worth. You're on Name That Artist. What you got?
I've got several of them.
Okay, let's hear it.
Firefall,
Oh, Firefall. That's a new one. Okay, go ahead.
Elton John, Rolls Royce, Jerry Rafferty,
David, keep going, bud.
Diana Ross, Paul McCartney and Wings,
Okay.
and one other possible 10cc.
Wow. Wow, David. Wow. Is that all you got? Because that's 7.
That's it. I'm sorry.
All right. No. Don't hang up. You're in first place now. Jeff, Mark, y'all might as well hang up. Robert and McKinney, you got anything better than David?
Well, I haven't been listening to the whole thing, so can I go through the whole list and see if I got it?
Let me hear your list.
Lyndon Ronstadt, Frankie Valley, Four Seasons,
Yep.
Rolls Royce, 10cc, Chicago, Firefall, Elton John, Jerry Rafferty, Diana Ross, Paul McCartney, and Wings.
Okay, that's a perfect scorecard there. The tickets are yours, Robert. Now, are you able to go see Megyn Kelly and Glenn Beck and the whole crew October 25th?
Yeah, I am.
All right, well, cool. Then you can either take them or pass them. Looks like I'll put you on hold. You'll talk to one of the Garretts in there. They'll get your email address and your info, and they'll email you the tickets. Thank you very much for playing today's edition of Name That Artist. I'll tell you my Glenn Beck live event story coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Unique and humorous. Find out for yourself, DFW, what all the rage is about. Coming up Monday, 11 to 2, only on WBAP. And also, we're going to try and have Megyn Kelly on the show before she goes and does her live event at Dickies Arena. And I like these events. I didn't think I would at first. And I started going to them because I work in talk radio, and I kept getting invited and free tickets to them and whatnot. But, I used to make the mistake that, I watched Bill O'Reilly's show. What do I need to see him on stage saying the same thing for? And it's not the same thing. And for some reason, it's different. And it's pretty cool. And so I love going to these things, and I love giving out tickets so other people can go to them, because I feel like this fills the void of when you and I were 22 and a concert was the coolest thing in the world to go to, but now it's terrible, right? I don't want to stand up for 3 hours. I don't want to be shoulder to shoulder with a bunch of sweaty, smelly people. I don't want people to slam dance and bump into me and spill my beer. And you know what I want to do? I want to sit. That's what I want to do. I want to sit, maybe put one of my legs on the other leg, one of my feet on the other leg's knee. Have some adult beverages in a quiet, calm environment where it's nice and air conditioned. I know I'm such an old fuddy duddy, but I love that. However, at this Megyn Kelly event, one of the guests that's going to be a part of it, Glenn Beck. Now, Glenn Beck, when you take him off of TV and off of the radio and you put him on a stage, you get an element of Glenn Beck that you don't normally see. He walks back and forth like a comedian. You know how like when Chris Rock is doing his stand-up and he's just constantly pacing back and forth like the dog is waiting for his mom to get home, just walking back and forth. Glenn Beck's very animated, and he does a lot with his hands, and he's very inflected. And you kind of saw a piece of that in the show that he used to do on both Headline News and then Fox News for a while. But this was during that era when he was on TV and he did the chalkboards. Do you remember the chalkboards? How Glenn Beck always had a bunch of crap on the chalkboard behind him, and there was some sort of flow chart, and he was going to explain it all over the course of the episode. And by the end, it was like a Paul Harvey rest of the story. And he was kind of associated with the chalkboard. That was his brand for about 5 years. Well, when he did this live tour with Bill O'Reilly, he had a chalkboard with him. And it turns out that before the show, he went and he filled it out himself. And after the show, we went back because he had come in and did a show from the station I was working at, because we were the Glenn Beck affiliate at the time. And so I got to meet him and hang out, and we did our show first, and then he did his show after ours, and then we did like lunch and stuff. So what we didn't know is after he did his show with Bill O'Reilly at the arena, we go backstage and there's 2 chalkboards. And we're like, oh, okay, you carry around 2 chalkboards, I guess, in case something happens to one of them. And he says, no, we don't carry them around. We just leave them. And when we get to the next town we're going to, we buy 2 new chalkboards. And we're like, well, what are you going to do with these? And they said, well, we're going to throw them away. You're going to do what? You're going to throw them away? We'll take them. They're like, if you want them, you can take them. They're just going to go in the trash otherwise. So me and Michael get Glenn Beck's used chalkboards, and we're like, oh man, free chalkboards, this is great. I have no idea what we think we're going to do with chalkboards. But so we loaded up in his truck, and all he had was like a couple of bungee cords to tie it down, and they didn't really break down well to where you could lay them flat in the truck, so they had to stand up. So we have 2 stand-up chalkboards at like 10 at night with 2 little measly bungee cords holding them down. And when you get on the interstate and you're going 70 and you have the slightest jiggle in your steering wheel, apparently that force is multiplied because the chalkboards are so tall. And of course, the bungee cords don't hold. And of course, one of them flies out. And the second it hits the interstate. Have you ever seen a chalkboard hitting the interstate at 72 miles an hour? It just explodes. Like it doesn't like break up into its constituent parts. Like even the parts break. Like when the chalkboard, like the green part of it itself that you actually ride on, that was just splinter. And it kind of did the shattering thing that glass does. I had never seen that before. But the other one ended up sort of laying flat, really diagonal, because it didn't lay down all the way in the truck. And we actually made it back to the office with that one. And then for the next few years, that's what we used in our editorial meetings, or like if we had a like sales conference or whatever. And I don't think these people knew that when they were doing their little notes for whatever, it's the second quarter revenue report or whatever, Miller Kaplan. I don't think anybody really realized that you're writing on Glenn Beck's chalkboard. And I don't know if they would think that was cool. But I wonder if he's doing the chalkboards now. Because if he does, and he's done with the show, just ask him. Free chalkboard. There, a little tip from the pros there. All right, tonight, if you happen to be going to the Bug Tussle football game, you go over to the visitor side band booster concession stand. I'll hook you up with some cheese sticks. How about that? And I'm only doing that because when I was working last week, I worked the second half. They stuck me on the fry machines. And usually I'm the guy at the front. I'm a people person. I can do math really fast. Doesn't bother me a bit. They stuck me on the fry machine. I'm going to try and angle in there again. Because usually I'm at the front. But when you stick me in the back and no one's looking and I'm in the corner doing the fries, I just kept sneaking myself. Like, here's a chicken finger. Here's a cheese stick. Here's a French fry. Dude, by the time I got to the fourth quarter, I was so full. And I was full of about 4,000 calories of fried food. It was epic. It was absolutely epic. So I'm going to go make the most of my weekend. You go make the most of your weekend. We'll rally back here and do this again on Monday. In the meantime, if you need more James Show action in your life, remember the podcast. WBAP.com, WBAP app, or if you're using other disparate apps to listen to podcasts, I'm probably on there too. But don't forget about us on social media, WBAP and James Parker. We got some good stuff on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. It's worth following. If you see it, like it, subscribe, share it all. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much in advance. And your weekend starts now. Go have fun. This has been the James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.